Hey everyone, Ionis here, bringing you the 5.2 overview for the IonBC 2 open test. So 5.2 brings a whole myriad of bug fixes, as well as some quality of life improvements, some polish, and as well some heavily requested features, such as mixed mode, which is a mode that combines both local and networked versions. Better grid manipulation with the ability to move cells between each other, copy, paste, undo, redo, and delete all from a simple context menu, as well as multi-command buttons and much more. So the first thing you're going to notice here is that we've gone through some UI changes. The server page is now the pilot page, and the host tab is now the driver tab, with a bunch of different tabs consolidated all down into one. So the general layout and functionality of these pages is identical to what they were when they were tabs, but considering we now have mixed mode, which is a combination of local and networked modes, I figured it'd be better to consolidate all of those different tabs down into one single tab, just for ease of access sake and to make it a little bit more intuitive. So just to go over them a little bit, this is the new host subpage here of the driver tab. As you can see, it is identical in layout and functionality to the old host tab. There's the KVM subpage here, which is exactly the same as the old KVM tab. If we click on the local sub item here, we will see what was the old local tab, now nested here into this local subpage. And if we click on containers down below, it is exactly the same thing. It is the old containers tab, now consolidated down into its own subpage in the driver tab. This should make menu navigation a little less confusing. As well, it consolidates everything related to mixed mode into a single unified tab. If we head on over to our client page here, you'll see we've done something similar. We have the standard client page here, which is under our Connect subpage, which again has exactly the same functionality as the old client page. And then we also have the local subpage for clients for mixed mode. That way, local containers can be launched from the client side without having to go back into the pilot page and launch them from there. Alright, so let's go into a little bit more detail of what mixed mode actually is. So as I said before, mixed mode is a combination of networked and local modes. This allows you to launch local profiles across multiple machines while still being able to control them from one centralized pilot. So if you play on something like a relaxed TrueBox server, which allows 3 EQ clients per machine, or if you just run multiple EQ clients across multiple different machines, this mode will allow you to do that while being able to take advantage of the full feature parity of both local and networked modes. So let's dive into an example of what I mean here. So if we go into our host tab here, we're going to start up our server. Then on our second machine over here in our client tab, we're going to connect our group 2 client. From there, on both of these machines, if we go back to local here, we're going to load up our local profiles here. Awesome. Now that we have both of our local containers loaded up here across both machines, I'm going to go ahead and get us to character select, and then I'll catch up with you. Alright, now that we're here in character select, if we click our broadcast button, you can see we are broadcasting our mouse inputs across all clients on all machines still. So if we go down here and we click on enter world, all of our characters here will enter world at the same time. The Group 2 machine is a pretty not great laptop, so it might take a little while to load, so I'll see y'all when we're all in game. Alright, now that every character has loaded in and is in game, if we click broadcast again, you can see our mouse inputs are still being broadcast here. We can move around by pressing right click and holding left click, and we can also broadcast keyboard inputs as well. Let's say we want everyone to sit, let's just /sit. We want everyone to stand, let's just /stand. Control S, Control X again. All of the inputs get broadcasted across all characters. Alright, so let's go over the new targeting schema for buttons for mixed mode. So if we open up the button designer here, you'll see our standard button designer. There's a couple new elements here, but we'll go over those later as they don't really have anything to do with mixed mode. So now if we click into our targets here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to type the target client's name. So in this case, that's group 2. And then the container's custom name. So let's say we want our shaman container on group 2 to /wave. So now let's give it a name, and if we click save, you'll see we have our button up here. If we click that, our shaman over here, TaKo, which isn't actually a shaman, on our group 2 client machine should wave. And there you have it. Now let's say we want to target multiple different clients. So now let's say we want to target multiple containers on the same client machine. So just like the normal targeting schema, the mixed mode targeting schema can also take a comma delimited list. So if we type a comma and then group 2, and then let's say our berserker container, down in our command, let's say /tell healeroo hello. If we save this and then we click our button up here, we should get 2 tells. And there you have it. Unfortunately, I don't know Elvish on this server because it's Fury on a Vi. Everything looks like nonsense, but you can see we got the 2 tells here. Now, just like our standard targeting schema, our internal target groups are also allowed to be used within mixed mode here. So let's say we want everybody to wave. We're going to go all, then the arrow, then all. We're going to type /wave. We'll save this up, and now if we click this button, every single container across every single machine should wave. And there you have it. On top of this, we have the other internal group targets. So let's say we want to target every single machine that isn't our pilot machine. We'd type clients. And then let's say we want to hit every single instance of EQ on all of those machines. We would type all. Now, just for a more clear example's sake, let's say we want them to send us a tell. Now, if we click save and we click our test button up here, we should get 3 tells from the 3 EQ processes running on our Group 2 client. And there you have it. Now, say you want to target something on only the host machine. In mixed mode, we do that a bit differently. So we type host, then the arrow, then whatever you want to target. So you can target clients, of course, which will just target everything but the primary. You can target all, which will hit everything including the primary. You can type host again, which will target only the primary container. Or, of course, you can just pass a specific container name with any comma delimited list that you want. So for this example, let's say we want our cleric to tell us they are a very important healer. If we then click save and then we click our button, the EQ process in our cleric container down here should send us a tell telling us how important of a healer they are. Unfortunately, we won't understand it because we don't know Elvish, but they'll still try and tell us nonetheless. And there you have it. I also just realized that this character's name is this. Who made this character? I don't remember making this character. That's my bad. So that's how the mixed mode targeting will work. As you can see, it's a little bit different than our standard targeting schema, but this will allow players of relaxed TrueBox servers or players who just use multiple EQ clients across multiple machines the ability to use all of the features of the IonBC 2 open test without having to use some weird intermediary or just not be able to have access to them in the first place. Alright, so I've dropped our client off here. We're going to go back into our standard standalone mode, and we're going to go over a little bit more of our UI manipulation changes. First thing first, if we go into any list box related page, let's say variables here, you can freely manipulate the cells within the list box and move them to wherever you want. On top of this, you can now copy and paste your current selection. You can also undo and redo any current action. There's also a right-click context menu for this. And of course, you can do this across the local page here, container page here, as well as the new clients variables page, which we'll go over soon. This should give folks some highly requested ease of access when trying to create these structures, as well as further control over the layout of these structures. Alright, so back in game here, let's talk about the changes to the button designer. So a couple things that you can see here. You can see that we now have a line counter for easier organization of buttons and macros. To show you what this looks like in a cleaner setting, I've loaded up my buff rotation button here from my Frost Breaker bar. As you can see, it's much cleaner and a lot easier to see exactly where certain macros land, but as well, if you click any line over here in the line counter, it will fully highlight that line, showing you exactly what is on that specific line. The next thing in the button designer is the ability to have multiple commands over a singular button. So if we click our Add Tab button here, you'll see we'll get this tab right here. Now what we want to do is we want to press any combination of keys, similar to a keybind. So let's say left control. Since this is a form group button, let's create a command to invite our Furion of I group here. That way it doesn't overlap with our current Frostbreaker group macro. Alright, so here we have our macro for inviting our Furion of iTunes, which is tied to our second tab here, bound to left control. Let's go ahead and save this up. And now, as you see, if we press form group just with the standard left mouse button, you can see we invited all of our group members from our Frostbreaker macro. However, as you know, we bound that second tab to left control. So if we hold left control and then we click form group here, you can see we have formed our Furion of I group using that second command tied to the same button. So this should assist with button bloat on hotbars, where users have sometimes had tens of buttons that all do the same thing across multiple groups and characters. As well, if you just want to tie multiple commands to a single button, regardless of what they are, you're more than welcome to do that. One last thing I would like to go over is the new client-side variables here. So just like Pilot, clients now have access to variables as well. These variables, upon connection to a pilot, are automatically appended to the pilot's variables structure. So you no longer need to make identical variables across all machines. If you want variables housed on a single machine, but you still want the pilot to have access to them, you can now do that by creating variables client-side within the client's variables tab. Alright, and that is it for the IonBC2 Open Test 5.2 overview. As always, I will leave the download link down below. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Discord anytime. Again, as stated in the previous video, a lot of these are going to be more quality of life or ease of access changes rather than full-fledged feature parity updates. Once we've moved into our licensed beta, I will actually be working on a scripting update to get a full top-level language built in to IonBC2 that can do a whole bunch of stuff. But now we're going to be sitting in more of a maintenance mode, fixing things over the course of the open test while introducing quality of life and ease of access updates for users for heavily requested features. Alright, well, happy hunting out there, and I hope you have a great night.